this computer because I tried to record the other one to the cloud and I think it failed. So does it show that it's recording?
It does.
It does.
All righty, excellent. And you guys are seeing the screen that says Airtable on it?
Correct.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, we're going. Okay, so to get started, Airtable is an online software as a service. And what its software is tables and databases that are easy to use. So if any of you have ever, if you're an old lady like me, used Access with relational databases, it can do all that. And also it can just be an Excel spreadsheet that's online and archivable and easy to access from your phone or from a computer. It is platform agnostic because it goes through a browser, but there are also iOS apps and Android apps that can be used. And I know Evanita uses hers on her iPad all the time.
I use it on the iPad, the computer, the iPhone. Whenever I need to reference something,
Right.
I just go.
Accounts are free. I do not pay for mine, and I've been using it for years. But if you use it so much that you hit the limits, there are paid accounts that give you more features. I'm not an agent or anything, so this isn't a thing where I'm trying to sell you anything. As I said, I use it for free. And there are a lot of available templates that you can use that people have already created templates, both the company, and then there's also a free open, they call it universe. And I'll show you that in a few minutes, where you can get other people's templates. Does anyone have any questions so far? I know I haven't gone over much, so there's not much to ask questions about. Okay, excuse my informality, as this is my own Airtable space. Once you sign up for a free account, it's going to put you in your own basic workspace where you can create what they call bases, which is just their cutesy way of saying database, and it's less, scary, I think, for everybody to call it a base rather than a database. So I'm going to show you what a bare, empty, start from scratch one looks like, just so you guys get an idea. It's super empty. And you can create whatever fields or tables that you would want. And we're going to come back to this test space in a little bit. So I'm going to show you how we're going to make some custom things here. So there are blank ones that have no formatting and you make it all yourself. There are, you can also import data and start with import data. So say you have an Excel database that you're keeping your stuff in, or you exported stuff from another site. You can import data that way. So for example, I got a ton of crap on this machine. So I was actually experimenting with importing Evanita's books page. So this is the CSV. I exported it from her template, and you can say, hey, this is this kind of data. What kind of field is this going to be? This is going to be a multi-select field. It only lets you choose a few for the import, so we'll go in and fix those later. So you can specify your field types, and I'll show you more about that when we build them. But you can import, and it'll bring your data in, and it'll bring. So here we've just started a new base from an export of somebody else's base. And then there's also an option to add a base from a template. And if you decide to use one of the templates we talk about today, this is how you would do that, or one of the ways you could do that. The templates we're going to talk to you about are in the, so they offer a variety of pre-built templates that Airtable built. But the ones that we're going to go over today are in the universe space, which is basically people, schlubs like me and Evanita, who have created something that we want to share. And you can see there's a bunch of them out there. If you put in your, if you put in, depending on the search term that you put in, this is mine, the one that I created. So we're going to start there, and we're going to start with Evanita's. Evanita, yours does not appear to be showing up. Speaking of
Why
which,
doesn't it show there? That's,
I don't know. That's
I
would-
will have to look into that. That's really weird.
I noticed that earlier today when I was getting things set up. So you would go here and you would say, hey, I want to copy this base to my account, and it would put an empty version of this base in your account. And if you find mine and you want to get to Evanita's, I did link it, and we'll talk about a little bit about the differences between mine and Evanita's, and how you might want to customize it for yourself. Okay, so there are also one of the other big name ones running around right now, Victoria Marchant has a template out there, and it's more geared towards people who are knitters and crocheters and not people who are spinners. There's some aspects of Evanita and mine that are specifically geared towards people who are going to be spinning. And I'll put up, I have a whole bunch of links. So I'm going to put up the links to mine, Evanita's, Victoria Marchant's, and a bunch of other ones that looked interesting. There's like people sewing trackers and craft trackers and all different kinds of things. Okay, so I'm going to go into my base to start off with. Or actually, let's go into Evanita's to start off with, because Evanita's is probably the one people will want to use. It's got more updated features. So this one is built for people who do multiple different kinds of projects, and has a lot of pre-built things already ready to go in it. So there are some tables in here that are mostly reference tables, and then things in the other tables will reference those reference tables. So, for example, the vendor list.
And the vendor list was mostly what you had added, and then I started adding some more things to it.
Right. So these are just people that Evanita and I have shopped at, basically. And, what kind of vendor are they? Any notes we have about them, and a link to the store. And these fields here where you see fiber inventory, yarn inventory, equipment, these are links to other, these will show, do I have anything here? Yeah, so like this is a piece of equipment that got bought by Long Draw James, and you can see that it's listed here. Here's some yarn, or excuse me, some fiber that she bought from Long Draw James, and so it's listed here. So if you wanted to see what you had bought from James, here would be links in your records to all the things that you had gotten from him.
He's a terrible enabler. I seriously do not become James.
So nice at the same time. It's just, so techniques, and both Evanita and I have a slightly different list of techniques. I added a whole bunch of stuff yesterday, but
I'll have to look for that.
Part of it is just, what do you do, and what kind of crafts or techniques are you going to do? And I would like to say that this vendor list, the technique list, the breed list, all of these things are completely editable. So when you get one for yourself, you can add whatever you want to it to customize it, because all of us do different stuff. This is where the whole thing started, is the breed list, as I was trying to plan a breed study project for myself, and it all got out of hand. So
I'm thankful. Thank you.
So this is basically a list of sheep breeds and other fiber types, what kind of source they are, what kind of micron count they have, and if they have a Bradford count, and what their staple length is. And everything to the right, you can pretty much ignore. I'm surprised Evanita didn't get rid of it, in fact, because that was all for me tracking my.
Do we know? I just haven't really bothered that area. I just add stuff to.
Do I want to weave it? Do I want it? Does it felt well? You know, what's a felting sample look like? I wanted to be able to take notes and put all that in here.
Yeah, and then for some people that will be really helpful. The breed study aspect is a really good idea.
And then this is the inventory that once again, oh, camel. What kind of camel do I have? I've got, you know, these are the different entries that I have that include camel. So all of these lists go both directions. Books is one of the ones that Evanita added in. So this is another great tracker. Tools is basically all your equipment. And so, and we'll go over the different kinds of fields. One of the things, for example, I don't bother tracking is worth versus price. I totally get why Evanita does it, but I'm not often going to sell my stuff, so it's not something, but it's good for insurance.
Yeah, it's good. It has its purposes. There's a lot of things that were gifted to me, and I like to know how much they were worth if for some reason I need to know that.
Right. But at the same time, it also can give you a heart attack when you see your value down.
Oh, it's so bad. Last year was terrible.
So just so you guys know, when you're looking at this, this is the template pretty much as it comes from Evanita, with a bunch of pre-filled stuff, so you can see how it works. When you're ready to start using it for yourself, you can delete any of her records.
Yeah, I only have a lot of records in there because there's a lot of stuff that kind of inner references. And so for you to be able to see how those inner references work, I left stuff there.
Right. Yeah, I think you've got a lot more materials listed in yours than mine. I need to copy some of your materials. Okay, so yarn inventory.
I've been using this for just like commercial and indie dyer types of yarn. I haven't been posting.
Whereas I use it for all my yarn. That's one of the things you and I do differently. So once I finish a spinning project, the yarn then goes into the yarn inventory for me.
Interesting. Okay.
So, but then you can track basically like how many skeins of it do I have? How many, you know, how much weight do I have? And I don't know if Evanita is doing this. Let's see if I can find something. I actually put a little inventory number on the thing, so I make sure I don't double inventory it. And I just use the auto-generated number and write it on a sticker and stick it on my thing. And you'd think I was really organized when I say this, but the amount of stuff I've actually inventoried versus what I have is very low.
This organizing thing, this is like just me on computer. As far as organizing in this room, it's
When you talk about some of the records coming in, pre-populating data, is it that you selected some that are going to be in the thing that we copy, or?
Everything you're seeing right now is in the one that you're going to get as a copy, because it's there as a reference tool so that you can see how it's supposed to work. And then also because why bother have you entering all those vendors in yourself? You don't have to, right? Now they're there.
And all the breed list and techniques
and the breed list and the techniques are absolutely things that there's no reason for you to populate from beginning to end on your own, right? I did all the research on
some of your questions, Cami, about pre-populating the data.
So if we want to remove something, how do we do that? Because I don't want to remove something and and mistakenly do something wrong.
You can't remove you can't remove anything and break it unless you remove a field versus data. So like a field is the column, right? And the data is the lines. You can just select them and then delete them all. Poof. Done.
And you can, there's also Control Z. So if you accidentally do something that you regret, Control Z is your friend.
There's also a trash can up here, and you can restore things from the trash can.
Nice.
Yeah, that's, I think, kind of new. I saw that yesterday when
Yeah,
I literally deleted
haven't,
a
there's a
billion
lot of
things.
things in here that are new to me. Even though I
So,
use it all.
for example, I would, if I was starting with this, come in and delete everything in the handspun all the way over to the books, and then
Yep.
leave breed list, techniques, and vendors alone.
That's why I put those 3 at the end.
Right.
Is there reference?
Because those are all for reference, and there will be fields in here that will reference those. Okay, I'm gonna go from tools over to the handspun project log. So, and I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth into field types and stuff in here. So you have a project description, which is whatever it is that, however it is that you think of that thing that you did. You know, some people are thinking of it, you know, that's the sweater yarn for the thing, or whatever it is in your head, you know, that's your name. So, you know, this is my fat yarn for fun. And you got this sorted, so it's already. So from here, I can pick the fiber from the list, all the list of fibers. Wait, where are you? Oh, I see. Okay, because you're getting this from your fiber inventory. Okay. So I can pick the fiber that I'm going to use for it. I can put in images. She's already got it pulled, so you can pull the images over from your fiber inventory. But you
pull
can
from. So the second column is the images of the fiber itself, and then the first one I have set for like actual like spinning project photos.
Right. So you can if you're doing this on a device, like I could load pictures from my computer. I can copy the link from like here. Here's the, you know, I go in here, copy the picture, copy image location, come back over here, put the URL in. Okay, now it's being a pain in the butt. This totally worked yesterday. Hold on a second. Oh my God, okay. Too many tabs. There we go. And then upload it. And it just puts it right in there. Give it a second and it'll pop in there. You manually put in the colorway name. If you've got one, you can put in your breed information.
The colorway is pulling from the fiber. The breed information is also pulling from the fiber.
Okay, sorry.
I like that as a little thing that shows you where it's going from. That's neat.
Yeah. So this one's got these two in it. I'm gonna just, okay. Did I click on something? How did I get a breed in here?
You click on nylon maybe? There you go.
No, it shouldn't be, but I made a brand new thing. Ugh. I love it when I'm doing something like this and then I just look dumb.
Are you trying to add one to it?
Is it because you already selected a
Oh, it's because I brought
fiber?
the fiber over, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm using Evanita's and it's not mine, it works slightly differently. Sorry. Yep. So you can put in your weight. You can say, I'm going to spin it with this tool. And I'm going to show you both how to do something fun with that in a minute. If there's special tool settings, what day is your start date, your project status. And these are all customizable as well. Every field status is customizable. So we're going to get that in a second. This techniques field pulls from that list of techniques we have. So like, hey, I'm spinning this from a bat and I'm going to blend it on a carder and I'm going to spin it boucle. Right? Pick as many of them.
If you have a technique that you haven't put there yet, you can just type it in there and then click the add new record.
Yeah. So for example, I'm going to do this. One is going to be a slip. I really can type. And now you have a brand new thing that's in there, and that'll be in your technique list over here. now, slip stitch color
Yeah.
work. So you never have to enter it again. You'll always be able to pull it from the list going forward. You can fill in your grist, your ply, your yarn weight, however it is that you like to track, you can have a field for it.
And a lot of
And-
this is just based on the kind of information that I look for in my projects to keep track of. But I mean, you could put whatever you want, and you can remove
And-
things you don't like.
And Evan and Ian and I are similar in that we don't seem to do twists per inch, but we do wraps per inch. So I do the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
Tags, I don't use tags very often, but I think tags are a great idea. And I know there's some people out there who love using tags.
The reason why I use the tags is so I can do gallery features where I can sort by, like, if I want to see all the stuff I did in 2020 or 2019, I can sort all those things.
Speaking of which,
Right.
one of the things that Evanita's has that mine does not have is all of these beautiful galleries.
This is
So-
why I love Airtable.
So from any list you're on, you can tell it you wanted to create a view that is in any of these formats. And so, like, to say, I want to create a calendar view or a gallery view, and then you can set up filters for it if you want, because there's filtering and sorting and customizing how the cards are laid out. And if I made photographs like Evanita, I would have a lot more
I mean,
cool
even if
pictures in
you
my
don't
too.
have the best photos, if you have like your stash and you have a photo of every single thing you have, it's really nice to organize it like that.
Yes. So the fiber inventory, do you have any questions before I keep moving? Okay, so the fiber inventory basically, they all I mean, the basic functionality is the same. You could put an image in here. I've already guys showed you how. So there's a variety of different prep types. I think we're going to have to add boardworms in here though. So, you know, but I'll
Maggie
show you.
noted that she's already added boardworms to hers.
So boardworms aren't in there, but we can add it. Now it's in the list, right? And you can also manually edit these fields by customizing the field type and coming in here and looking at all of the options. What's NRA, Evanita?
That needs to be removed. I
Oh,
will remove.
okay. Okay.
Yep.
Sometimes
When you type things and you accidentally enter, they get entered at a field, and then if you don't remember to remove them, they're still there.
I have half the word purple in my color list somewhere. Just so Evanita knows, we've had a number of conversations in the Abby group about the things that come off one's blending board, and they are not overly well loved in Abby's group, so they have been dubbed boardworms.
I totally get that. That makes perfect sense to me. Now, are the boardworms like when you make a roll log that takes up the whole entire board? Because those are terrible.
I actually like those better because I'll take the whole thing off loosely and then I'll pull it into pulled roving, and I actually get a really nice spin off of that. But no, either way, they're boardworms though. Okay. They are not either puni or a rolag. They're just something that's hard to spin in between.
Elise, Vampy has a question now, and I'm not sure where this is in your syllabus, but can you import Ravelry stash automatically, or will it be done manually?
Evanita.
So when I was looking at like the spinning section of Ravelry, there wasn't an export feature. And I
is there an export feature for their other stuff?
There is one for, I think maybe I think it might be like the knitting or something. There's a couple areas, but there's also this export feature in your profile. I'll look at it real quick. It's a file type that I'm not familiar working with, so I haven't dared touch it yet. So I personally did a lot of copy pasting, which really sucks. If you are a person that is affected by Ravelry stupidity and you don't already know, I have a theme that makes it bearable, which can help make the process less terrible.
And you can get your data out of here. So I want people to know that they're not stuck.
Yeah.
The data
Yeah,
can
I
come out.
love.
You might not get it out with all of the bells and whistles, but you'll get it out. I try not to put my data in places I can't get it back out again.
Yep. Okay, so there's a feature, it says export data, download a copy of your data. And it basically, it gives you a JSON file. And I have not worked with JSON files. So
You can also export your entire yarn stash as an Excel
Yeah.
file.
yes, so that you can export, and that
That import into this.
yeah, that could be very helpful.
I think so, although it might be.
It'll probably be one of those things where you export it and you copy columns from it, kind of thing, maybe.
Or you can import it and then rebuild the thing around it, because it's just not that hard
I
to
need
build
to
this stuff.
add loads of extra tags because this is way better and more comprehensive than the stupid Rav one. But I've got hundreds of stash entries, so I'd rather
Yeah,
not do one at a time.
Yeah,
And you
I get-
absolutely can copy and paste. So what, for example, what I might suggest doing, and I can show you this, is I can show you this a little bit, is if you were to import it into here, and then the places where there are columns where your stuff doesn't match up, sort of just zhuzh the columns, and then you can copy and paste from one table to the other.
Can you do it from a JSON?
It does look like there is an ability. So hold on a second. So I have not done this. So I do not want to say like, hey, here's this awesome tool. But if you Google JSON to CSV, there are some websites that say they will convert your data for you.
That's cool.
Now it might not do, like you're probably gonna have to re-put your pictures in.
Yeah, and it might be a little messy and you'll have to clean it up, but
right, but it's better than hand
awesome.
entering hundreds and hundreds of pieces of data. I
made more work.
Kimmy also asks, can we search our books and magazines for a pattern like on Ravelry? And I imagine that what you're going to need to do is make a catalog index of patterns in a book that can be cross-referenced to a book.
Yeah, or you can tag it. And so this is one of the things I want to show. I'm going to show in a little bit, because I saw multiple people talking about tracking their patterns. So we're going to create a pattern tracking sheet from scratch.
Excellent.
Okay, so, and because I want that for my own, we're going to do that in mine as opposed to
Cool.
into this one. So I just want to, knitting project log is very similar, where you can pull in your hand spun yarn, you can pull in, a lot of that data is going to be automatically pulled in, but then you can,
hand spun indie section. I see what you mean about combining those, but
it's fine. Everybody's got a different way they want to do this, right? So that is, so mine looks a little different because I put all of my yarn in the yarn inventory. So then I just pull the yarn reference in it. I don't have a bunch of extra data in, but there's no wrong way and no right way. That's just different. So I'm going to show everybody how to do something Evanita didn't know how to do. And then we'll go and do the other page. So, because I said, hey, Evanita, do you realize you could do this? So when you're putting in a needle reference right now, you have to go through every single tool record to get to the needles. But if you go into the tools page, and she already has them tracked by tool type, right? So we're going to create a view. We're going to go into views and we're going to create a new view, grid view. And in that view, we're going to name that, call that knitting needles.
would it work the same way from the gallery view as well?
I can't see why it wouldn't.
Because I do have one that says knitting tools.
Okay, I'm showing how to do it. We can experiment. So I'm going to filter this on where the tool type contains knitting needles. So only the knitting needles show up. Then I'm going to go back over to this knitting projects log. This is complicated, but I just wanted, this is what it looks like when it's complicated. You don't have to ever do anything this complicated. So I'm going to redo her field type, and I'm going to tell it to limit the selection to our grid view knitting needles.
Nice.
And now when we go to put in knitting needles, the only things that come up are knitting needles.
Yay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Makes things nice and easy. And you can also do that for your hand spun project log and only have like your spinning wheels come up, or you can have only your looms come up when you're doing the weaving projects.
That's fantastic. I'll have to update that.
Okay, so weaving projects. So as you can see, as you start looking at these, the project logs are very similar, but there's always some customized fields for them. EPI, PPI, for weavers. Any particular, once again, what loom did you use? Any particular tools did you use? Things like that. Okay, before I go and show people how to create a whole thing from scratch, anybody have questions? Alrighty. Okay, so now we're going over to mine, and I have one thing in mind that Evanita doesn't have in hers that she wanted to see. And this is a work in project planning board. And I have two different views for it. One is a grid view. And that is just like, what are the things in the queue that are things that I want to do? And for everybody who was in the office hours earlier, we were talking about Pimmy's singles weaving. I put that in so I didn't forget. And I put, I didn't have a lot of detail yet, but from Pimmy, I want to, and I described the thing with the singles. Okay, so, but I also can do this in a Kanban view so that these are the things in the planning stage. These are the things in the planned stage. This one's in progress, for example.
Nice.
And you can customize how detailed this Kanban is?
Oh, absolutely. So this
Nice.
is sorted. So the way this one is put together is that it is sorted by this field status. So first of all, you can customize whatever your statuses are, however you want that to be. And then also, you can make a Kanban and it'll say like, what field do you want to use as your thing?
Yeah, totally makes sense. Totally makes sense.
Yeah, so you can, for example, you should be able to sort, for example, on the, excuse me. I wonder why it's making me do it. Okay, so hold on. Sorry, I'm just going to back out of this for a minute, because what I'd like to do, if I was going to do another one, for example, I might want to do it by craft type. Oh, I think the reason it's upset with me is because that's a multi-select and not a single select. But if I had that as a single select, I could use that and organize, like, here's all the weaving projects, here's all the knitting projects, here's all the crochet projects, whatever. Okay.
Now, would you be pulling that data from the spinning, knitting, and weaving project logs? Or is that
because these are all sort of, this is for me like that notepad list. Like, I'm just trying to get the details of the things I want to do in here. So like, what I want to know is like, how am I thinking about the project? Like right now, this is mom's scarf. What kind of project is it going to be? Do I have something specific for it? Like, I know for my sister's scarf, I was going to use this Kelly Casanova pattern. Do I have the materials on hand, or do I have to go and make sure I have the materials? Speaking of which, I have the materials for this one on hand. If not, do I need to get stuff? Like, I can pull the yarn on hand from my yarn inventory if I want. I can pull the tools. So I can fill in all that stuff if I need it, and any notes that I have on what I'm doing with it. And like, I have some pictures I need to put in for Chris's scarf, because I've got like mood board pictures to go along with his scarf.
This is awesome. So right now, my current planning stuff, I have all on like a Google Doc, and it's just it's a picture and a bunch of text.
Right.
This I'm gonna have to adopt into mine. This is fantastic.
And then, so my project logs are a little simpler than Evanita's are because I don't have quite as many cross-referenced fields as she has, which you can see more in like the, I have one project in my knitting project log right now. But I don't, because I put all the yarn in the yarn inventory, once I get down to a knitting project, I don't need to bring in all the rest of that data. I just get it off of the yarn inventory page. But otherwise, our stuff is very similar. But let's create a pattern tracking page. So we're going to create an empty table. Alrighty. So we're going to start here with what's our name field. We're going to rename our name field so it's a pattern name. Alrighty. Have fun with the greenhouse, Vampy. Alrighty, so what do we want to know about our patterns? We want to know what they're a pattern for. So maybe this is a pattern type. I'm just going to throw some ideas out there, and if anyone wants to, you know, so we can have two different ways I can think of pattern type. One of it is like, is it printed? Is it a PDF? Is it a whatever? Or is it like a hat, gloves, shawl, mitts, boots, I don't know, socks, whatever, sweater, you know, we can keep going, right? And as a matter of fact, if you want a really nice list, I'd pull it out of the Victoria Marchant one because she's got a great list of stuff. She's basically got the same whole list that Ravelry does. Okay, so we're going to create that field. Okay. To me, those are the top two things: the pattern name, pattern type, and we're going to want probably a picture. So we're just going to call this a picture, and we're probably also going to want one where we have the actual pattern, if we can attach it. So now we've got an attachment
And Maggie
field.
suggested that we call something the source, but this dovetails neatly into Cammie's question about what if it's from a book or a magazine, or so if that's a source or book or magazine, an issue.
So the question is, how do you think about it exactly? So, okay, hold on. I'm going to do a, I can type, and I'm going to make this craft discipline a multi-select because some things are crochet, some things combine stuff. I don't know. There we go. Absolutely tags for features, Lisa. Absolutely. So here are all the different kinds of fields that you can have. A link to another record is how we bring those fields in from other spaces, and I'll show you how we do that. Single line text is exactly what it sounds like. It's just like a single word. A notes field would be a long text field. An attachment is exactly what it's, any data that, you know, any file that you want to put in from outside. A checkbox is like a radio button or a checkbox, like yes, no, which is really good for like, is this yarn used up or is this yarn not used up? Multiple select allows for one of those drop downs where you can pick multiple things. So like we just set for the status. Single select, and also you can change things back and forth if they're compatible. So this one apparently I said is a single select, but we can go and change that to a multi-select. Boop, and we're not going to lose anything because the field types are similar enough that it is appropriate. Am I in the wrong? Where did I get a status from?
Oh,
I
that
don't
was
know.
on That was automatically there.
Oh, okay. I'm apparently brain dead today. Sorry, folks. If you're working with somebody else, you can have collaborator fields, date fields, start date, end date, purchase date, contact information, email, URL. So your source could be a URL. You can have number fields and currency fields. The nice thing about number and currency fields and percent fields is you can do math with them. So one of the things that you can see in like the fiber and the yarn inventory lists is where, you know, I have a quantity of 2 of this at a unit weight of 4 ounces. So I have a total of 8. This is an automatic math column, does its own thing. If I put in a unit cost, I actually got this as a gift, but say it was, I don't know, $12, which is ridiculous, but it'll do the math, give it a second to update, and that would have been $24 for the total cost. I'm gonna take that back out because I know I got that as a gift. So let's go back to our table over here.
Now, were you talking about actually adding like the PDF to this? Because
You could add the PDF. So the big concern I have with adding the PDF for people who have large catalogs is that you're gonna end up using up space, right?
That's one concern I have, but the major concern I have is not that someone would do this intentionally, but if you do share your database with somebody, say you want to show someone stuff in your stash to have them help you figure out a project idea, they would then have access to all of those files, which I would say is a bad idea. So for me, I was thinking about doing was having a in one of the columns, it would list the file name, so that way I can
so you basically go like this. You'd say, you know, well, let's. So this is sort of what I mean when I say it's really, you're going to have to decide for yourself a lot of this, what is customizable for you. So I'm over here in my documents. So I could then go say like, it's in this directory right here and copy and paste it.
Awesome.
And then you have that in there. Okay, so we are building our, so this is our craft discipline. We're gonna say this is a knitting pattern because most of my patterns, I don't need this status field. We're gonna kill this status field. We wanna say, we want the designer. And if you're the kind of person who buys a lot from different designers, you might want to make this a select box so that as you add people to it, you can always, yes, Lisa, fields can be hidden. I don't know much about permissioning though, because I don't personally share my own personal Airtable with the insides of my personal Airtable. If I want to share it, I make it a template so that other people have access to it.
As far as the designer part, I would personally link that back to the vendors list and then put pattern designers within the vendor table and list them as pattern designers.
So we'll show you how to do that. So link to another record. We're going to say, yes, we want to link to another record. We want it to be a record in the tool. Wait, no,
vendors.
In the vendor list. This would be our designers. And then we don't have a view set up for it, but we'll come back and we'll set the view up for it in a few minutes. So that's a designer. And then we're going to say, we're going to pick the vendor name. That's the only piece that I think we need to bring in. Although if you wanted to link to their store, that might also make sense if you wanted to know where. Hold on a second. Absolutely, Kat. Wherever it is that you store your stuff, that's very customizable for your own purposes. But for example, people were suggesting they wanted to know the source. So if a vendor had a store, you could bring in both fields. And I'm just going to rename this. This is the one I would hide. So they often bring in extra fields, and I frequently just hide them.
Yep.
So often if you'll look at either Evan Anita's or my template, you'll see there's hidden fields, and those have to do with the extra fields it brings in when it's doing linking. Yes, Lisa, you can share your Airtable. As a matter of fact, Evanita this is actually Evanita's full. This is Evanita's full, so that we could see all of her gorgeous pictures. So this is her
One thing
full.
I really like in particular is go to the fiber tab real quick. So I have it listed as fiber that's used or not used, natural, and then I also separated it by vendors.
Right. I'm curious about your yearly stash. Is this what I've bought this year?
Oh God.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
And at
This
the
just
bottom, you
gives-
can actually see where it says like 53 records, 5 records, 19 records, 23 records. I love you so much. Oh my gosh.
2020 was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Or awesome. Depends on your point of view.
I also spent a lot of money on craft supplies this year. I wasn't spending it on anything else. So this is what I'd like to say. I spend an astronomical sum on craft supplies and things this year, but I still spent less this year than I would have spent otherwise in general, because I know what the state of my bank accounts are, right? So, so yes, yes, the Sable table, exactly. But to answer Lisa's question, yes, you absolutely can share yours. I can't make changes in yours though, can I?
No.
Yeah, no,
So you can decide whether or not you want to share. Like, say you're doing some tracking that you want to have like a collaborator with. It could be for an entirely different reason, but you could share the table and make it so people could edit it.
Right, there we go. So this is the share. Here's the invite, the email. Here's the different. So you could, for example, share to your friend if you wanted to shop your stash as a commenter, so she could comment on a record to say that's what she wanted to buy. Or
I could
just
being
only.
useful for vendors
Mhm.
who catalog what they have in their inventory.
Okay, I keep getting lost here. You can tell I have ADHD. We're still working on creating this pattern record. What else do we track on our patterns in, I'm gonna open Ravelry for a second. So if anybody wants to look away, I'm gonna take it off the screen really quickly though.
Oh
Okay.
God, it's the dark mode.
Yeah, I like the dark mode better in general. I'm a dark mode sort of a girl, so I don't find it to be as problematic as the other view.
So I'm gonna look away because their dark mode gave me a scintillating scotoma the other day.
Okay, so I'm gonna look at my pattern. Where's my library? There we go. Yeah, I would like to say that I'm not generally a person that has visual problems, and I still think that there's issues with it. So,
well, they basically just put a paint. They just slapped some paint on and called it good.
yeah. Okay, so what else do we get to know about patterns? We want to know things I would want to know are yardage.
Yarn weight, yardage.
I would pick yardage from a multi-select that had, you know, lace.
Wouldn't that be weight, not yardage?
Yeah, you're right. I probably needed lunch.
That's why I'm slowly eating. I'm sorry I'm eating, but I'm really hungry.
Fine. Yardage, I would just put in as a number. unless you want to put it in as a range. And if it's a range, it's got to be text because it's not going to recognize the, 1,000 to 12,000. I would most likely just put in the yardage approximately for the size I was planning. I mean,
Yeah.
No matter what, I'm not going to be an extra small. So, but you can work that to however you want. And needle size is a great one. So let's see, on Ravelry, we have where is it published? What kind of craft is it? What kind of category? When was it published? I don't really care when the pattern's published. I don't know if anybody else would care. Expected gauge. So I would put that in as a long text. This one's a relatively neat. And this one you might want to make a multi-select.
Yeah.
Or a single select, and just put in all of the sizes. Margaret,
Ooh.
great suggestion. Okay, so I'm just gonna like 0, 0, and you guys know what, and 10. There we go. Those are the two sizes we can knit in today.
Oh,
And
damn.
if someone is just watching the video and not reading the text in the recording, Maggie's suggestion is, would we want a link to errata if separate from pattern?
And we can put that in as a URL. And you might want to put in size range, which I would put in as a single line of text probably. But I can see a good argument for putting a size range in as some sort of scale. If you have something like, does it come in child? Does it come in toddler? Does it come in infant? Does it come in, adult? Does it come in plus?
You could do that as tags.
Yes, you could do that as tags, or you could do it as a multi-select. I'm just saying there's a lot of ways to do it. It's a matter of how does your personal taste and how does your brain work. I never remember to tag stuff. I really have the best luck when the amount of data I need to put in is relatively small. Alrighty. What did we miss? We have the craft, we have the category. Do we have the category? No, we didn't. But you get the idea. Okay, I'm gonna make the category. I thought I made the category. We have discipline. That one I know you have. That one's here, craft discipline.
I have James and he's already influencing with fiber while we're talking here.
Well, tell him that he should come into the presentation and then influence everybody.
Yeah, well, he's dealing with lambs.
Okay, well, tell him he can have your attention tonight. Okay, for me, I would probably be done. Is there anything else anyone else would want to put in theirs?
Not that I can think of. I think this is pretty well rounded.
Bunny? What's
Well,
bunny?
the original, that's the squirrel.
Oh,
Something
yeah,
distracted
gotcha.
you. The question from Cami about being able to search for patterns in your books. So
Mhm.
if one of these came from a book in your
right.
inventory, would you
Link
want
book.
to link it to the book table?
Yes.
Absolutely. So to do that, we would do the same thing that we had done before, which is link to another record, and then you could link it to the book.
And for this, you'd probably want to
Maybe name an author.
that'd be
I don't
great.
did, okay.
Whereas I'm also picturing I'm going to want a magazine list so I can have all my episodes of Ply Magazine. So
I
that
would
if I'm
probably,
looking
for me, I'll
at-
probably put it in as just publications and do all the
Yeah.
books and magazines in one place.
Nice.
Yep, exactly what I would do. And you can organize those how you see fit. I've been on my new version that I've been using, I have it set to like there's knitting and weaving and spinning. And those I think I have for multi-select.
I'm going to say I'm going to name this one, rename this one.
It's unfortunate, having a database like that requires a lot of work in terms of getting all the book data. So be more of a, what's in your personal collection kind of thing, note
Right.
down, like you get a book and there's patterns that okay, I really want to do this at some point, then add it to your database, and then just not worry about any of the other patterns that you don't feel like you're going to ever work
Okay.
on.
This is giving me the grumps. There we go. This is our. So one of the things I really want to make clear is that it's really actually pretty hard to screw yourself up, and you can almost always go back and change it. These things are all movable. It's like, I don't want them in the order that they're in, move them around. It's one of the things I noticed is that Evanita's got her columns in really different order than I do. And I think some of that just has to do with how she looks at things. She's way more graphically visual than me, and she's got all those great pictures. So yeah, her pictures are right up front in hers. Like her second column is her pictures.
Question for you.
Mhm.
Okay, so I know like the first column is locked so that when you scroll through, you
Mhm.
always see that column.
Mhm.
I need to look to see if there's a way that you can extend that lock. Because
Yeah,
for
I
me
don't.
personally, I think it'd be great if the image was also locked. That way I can see the image. I know exactly what yarn I'm looking at because I see the photo and I see the details. So that's something that I was going to look into to see if that was possible. Because freezing columns is awesome.
Let's see what they say.
Ooh. Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, I have to do that. And it's still like there's things that are that for me now are obvious, like, oh, I should change that, but it's kind of just it grows like as you figure out.
So there you go. That's how you would do that. And then
Nice. So for me, I would freeze the image column, that way I can always know the name of the thing and what it looks like
right.
when I'm
So
referencing it. That is fantastic.
like that.
Hooray. Oh, love it. That makes me happy. I love that even though I've set up things, I'm still learning stuff.
So yeah. Okay. I feel like I've covered most of the basic stuff on
Yep.
Let's see, copy and paste. Let's copy and paste. So as long as your fields line up reasonably well, you can.
Oh, you can also show a duplicate entry. That's nice.
Yeah, so you can, for example, copy and paste stuff over if you wanted to put this in your fiber inventory, for example. Most of those fields line up, and so they will copy over. I only copied the first 4.
I love that we can see these in great big huge spreadsheets. Can you ever open just like record number 5 and see all of the fields about, okay, so is it like a double click?
Just clicked on the name and it's like a link.
And you can also see on the right side, there's an activity list where it shows you your revision history, and you have revision history for 2 weeks.
For free. If you want to upgrade, they have more extended revision histories. Yeah.
So the duplicate entry I was talking about is really handy if, like, say you bought like 5 different skeins of yarn and they're different colorways. You can write all of the
like that
general information and copy paste it, or not
right click, duplicate record.
Yeah.
And if you want to, for example, like you set up, so you can so originally I had a project log that included spinning and knitting projects, and it's before I was really weaving. So when I saw how Evanita was doing it, I liked the idea, but her fields don't match the fields that I have. So I just copied my project log twice, renamed them, and then adjusted I adjusted the pattern type, or I adjusted the for example, there are some places where, for example, knitting projects can be in about 5 places, but weaving projects can only be in 1 because I only have 1 loom. So it's either on the loom or it's not on the loom. Right?
Yep.
Alrighty. I think, wait, can you search more than one category? Yes, you can. Well, so I'm not sure about searching, but filtering, absolutely.
Searching's pretty great. What do you want to search for?
So she was saying, can you search for, i.e. all BFL or all DK sweater patterns? So yes, I tend to do this with filtering more than I do it any other way. So I would go in here and say, like, I want to add a filter and see everything that is the prep type braid or bat. Let's see. And then I would be able to see all the things that are prep type bat.
What happens when you click on bat? Just does it actually?
Bat doesn't go anywhere else because it's not linked to another thing.
Gotcha.
But if we had if we had the filter not showing, I'm going to pull the filter off for a second. You could click on it up here and sort.
Yeah, by the type. Like
sort by type. Sort, basically alphabetically sort. And then you'd have all the braids together, all the slaver together, all the searching. I actually haven't done any searching. So Evanita, do you want to talk through searching?
So let me look to see what was said about searching. I have done a search where, like, I'm looking for a specific thing. Like BFL, I can just type in BFL and it'll show me everything that mentions it. But it really depends on what you want to search. Like if you were to click on like one of the if you click on some things, it'll actually show you all of the entries that relate to that particular field.
So anything that's brought in from somewhere else, certainly, like if you click on silk tussa, it will tell you everything that's related.
Yep.
All the silk tussa, anything that comes in from a pull-in. As a matter of fact, it shows you like this is coming from here. I love that.
Yeah, I saw that. That's really nice.
Margaret saying you have to tag all the things, otherwise the searchings won't work. I literally don't see a search box. Am I just being blind?
Control F.
Oh.
It's also in the very, very top right is the little searchy dude.
Ah, right here. I'm just blind. Oh, great. I'm with fantastic doing the demo.
A link to your advanced search right there.
Yep. And the advanced search options.
Oh, that advanced search is upgrading.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So far, I have not needed to do anything that required an upgrade.
No.
Yeah. And if you hate the database view, by the way, and you don't want to enter data that way, you can make a form that is much more friendly looking.
Yep. And if there's particular things that you want to search by, like you want to look for all of the fiber that's not dyed because you want to dye some fiber, you can just create a view for that particular thing that you know that you're going to want to look at frequently.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I can't see the rest of her name, and I know her real name's at the end of her name, but she just posted that she exported. Rita, thank you. Oh, she exported her Rav stash, and it included all the spinning projects in Excel format, and it should be exportable to Airtable. Yeah, if you want, and especially if you don't want to start off with the template that we're giving you, you can import directly out of your export.
And
It's
once you
ju-
export it, it's going to be easier to copy and paste data from
Right.
into something like this anyways.
Yep.
Because it'll be on one location rather than going through every single page like I did.
Alrighty. I think anybody else with more questions? Because otherwise I think I'm gonna call it for today. And I'm more than happy to come back and do more demonstration later or answer questions on Discord. So
No, this is really brilliant. And I've just thought of a completely non-textile use that's going to make my partner happy.
Well,
This is just brilliant.
I would like to point out that, yeah, that I use it for all different kinds of things. Of course, now I wanted it to show me this earlier. It's not the nice list.
Okay, well, Santa Claus's nice list is organized by Mrs. Claus, but
okay,
yeah,
it just doesn't
it is
want
a
to.
Santa thing that I want to organize.
Yeah, so like I use it to track inventory for all different kinds of things. Like actual projects I wanted to use, soap, all my soap making supplies, and book inventory and all of that kind of stuff. So
this is just brilliant.
Yeah, and there's a lot of templates that other people have made. I know there's a TV tracking, like everything on Netflix that you might want to watch template that someone's already made. Yeah, so.
Super handy for all kinds of things.
Yes, super handy for
Thank
all
you
kinds
both.
of things. Alrighty, I'm probably going to make a few updates to mine and then share it one more time as a template so that the work in progress tracker is out there and the pattern tracker once I finish that up.
Those and add do some more tweaking with mine.
Yep. So Evanina and I will probably have some updates for our various versions in the next week or so. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time, and good luck in your record keeping.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Evanita.
Thanks for inviting me. I've actually learned a lot more. So that was awesome.
Good.
There's just so much you can do with it, and
is the one thing I haven't successfully figured out how to track for myself well, and I'm sure if I just put some more time into it, is like an inventory eating process. So it's less of a concern on the fiber side for me because I'm never generally rebuying the same thing I already bought. I'm always buying something shiny and new. But when I'm making soap, I always need, a gallon of olive oil or, whatever. And then if I make soap, I use that stuff up and it goes away, and then I buy it again and it has a completely different price. So I'm still trying to decide the right way to track that.
Like to get rid of old entries kind of thing, or
to figure out if there's a way I can put it together so that when I put a recipe in and then say I'm doing this, it'll auto subtract it, and then I'll know approximately what I have in stock. But that might be more than yes, and also Margaret, to keep a price history. It might not be worth it. I don't sell my soap, so it's probably not worth the amount of time I would spend developing it. I just give my soap away as gifts most of the time. So. Alrighty.
That was great.
I'm gonna go get some food before I have to be back up for Daedalus in like an hour and a half.
It's been the day of Zooms. This is my second. And then
I have been on Zoom since noon today. I've basically been on. So we did Abby's group this morning at from like starting at noon, and we went till like 1:30, 1:45, and then at 2:00 we did like a spin in public sort of thing in our Discord group, and then I went from that to this. So
I had a very small breakfast before my Zoom with the Kent Guild because I was really nervous. I'm like, I don't want to get nauseous. And I'm like, I'm so glad it was so early in the morning for me, so that I didn't have enough time to like worry myself sick.
I'm glad it went well. I had every faith in you. I had every faith in you.
All right, I'll
Alrighty,
catch you later.
I will see you all later.
See ya.